there is an NFL football game tomorrow. There's an NFL football game on Friday. There's 13 games on Sunday, and there's a game on Monday. Austin, that officially means that we have reached the point of the NFL season. The long off season is gone. It feels like just yesterday that we watched the Chiefs beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl, and we are finally here. It is week 1. We have our first pick'ems of the year. I know me and you are both super excited. I know millions of people around the world are so excited. There's so much to talk about. It's no longer about to be speculation. Who's going to look good here? What team is going to look different with this new player? Now we're going to know what things look like. We're going to know how the rookies look. We're going to know how the traded players look. We're going to know what injuries are taking place around the league. Fantasy football is going to be taking place. We are finally here. It is week 1. This is K&A Football. Before we get into this episode, I would like to remind you guys to make sure you're following us on all platforms. Follow us on YouTube at K&A Football, K&A Football, and follow us on Instagram, KA_football, and anywhere else you get your podcasts at K&A Football. And also, if you're listening to us from Kent State campus, welcome. We're extremely happy to have you guys listening. Shout out to Debbie getting us in there. We're super excited to have you guys listening and along for the ride for this season. So, Austin, I don't know about you personally, but me personally, this is my, I'll say it, this is my favorite weekend of the year. Every year. I don't care. I know it's a little bit crazy. You can put up Christmas. You can put up Thanksgiving. You can put up some random, you can put up the last weekend of the school year, so you're going into summer. This has always been my favorite weekend of the year because you're going into week 1. Every team has a chance. Every team's playing for the first time. Every team is 0-0. This is my favorite weekend of the year. I don't know about you personally, though.
I mean, it's a good weekend. I'll give you that. It's fantastic. It's been 240-something days, maybe even a little bit more than that since the Super Bowl happened. I mean, where the NFL is only such a small portion of the year, and finally, we're back, and it's exciting. I'd say probably my favorite weekend of the year might be Wild Card Weekend. I think that's always a good one. I like the we won't really see it anymore, but the first week of the college football playoffs, I like that. But week 1 is great. Like you said, every team's got a chance. And, I would say that I liked this week more before we started the podcast. And then I didn't understand the consequences of week 1 the first year that we had the podcast. And then after that, it's just been train wreck because, especially this week for us, for you and I on the podcast, it's very difficult to this first week to make the picks for who's going to win because, like you said, it's all speculation leading up to this. It's people like us getting really bored over the off season and being like, oh man, I saw Jahmyr Gibbs stubbed his toe in his house on his coffee table. Is he going to be able to play fully week 1? And then you're like, well, how does that affect the Lions offense? And what happens? And and how does it affect the other team's defense? And it's just stupid. Okay, so you really just gotta go into this week with an open mind. I love it, but it's a lot of pressure for people like us.
It is a lot of pressure. And like you said, us making the picks, unlike last season, because obviously last season was a little bit different for us. We didn't do an episode every single week because it was really difficult without Debbie here. But if you've been following the podcast for a couple of years, it's going to be more like the original season of the podcast. We're going to be doing a pick'ems every single week, obviously, and we're going to be keeping track, and there's going to be obviously a winner and a loser, and there will be a punishment for the loser of the pick'ems, just like there was a couple of years ago. And if you remember correctly, we picked them last time, and it was very difficult because for us to keep track because we did this by hand. We had to go through every week and be like, okay, which should be very easy, but we made it very difficult on ourselves. But
Yeah, we did.
we are now using Sleeper, which if you don't know what Sleeper is, it's a very great app. One of in my opinion, the best fantasy football app. You should download Sleeper for fantasy. You can do sports betting on there. Now, we at K&A Football do not endorse sports betting, but if you're into that kind of stuff, download it for some sports betting. But we're going to be using it for our pick'ems. So after the episode, we'll just go through and make all our picks on Sleeper, the same ones that we say on the episode, and then that will keep track for us. So without further ado, Austin, are you ready to just jump into the original Week 1 pick'ems?
Dude, I'm so excited to jump into the Week 1 pick'ems. Let's do this thing.
Let's do it. So we're going to start off with the kickoff game. Tomorrow night's game. The defending 2-time in a row Super Bowl champs, the back-to-back champs, the Kansas City Chiefs are hosting the new look Baltimore Ravens at 8:20 p.m. What you got, Austin?
Well, obviously, I think that it's difficult to pick against the Super Bowl champions, especially when you consider that they're 2-time Super Bowl champions. And so it's difficult to say, like, oh, I got to go with the Ravens on this one. But in my opinion, I'm going to pick the Ravens here. I think that there's no reason to not pick the Ravens. I think that, Lamar Jackson, MVP last year. They have, in my opinion, a better receiving core than the Chiefs have. They have a better running back than the Chiefs have with Derrick Henry. It's insane. Their defense was great. The Chiefs' defense was good too. The Chiefs lost last year in their Week 1 season opener against the Lions. Everyone was really shocked by that. Mm-hmm. And I think this would be a little bit less of a shock. This game is predicted to be pretty close. I'm going to go Ravens here. I don't think that's too out of the question. That's just what I'm going to go with.
Yeah. I think the NFL picked a really great opening game.
Sure.
You got the Chiefs, who are back-to-back Super Bowl champs, looking for the three-peat this season, and then you got the Ravens, the reigning Super Bowl MVP, bringing in Derrick Henry, one of the most
League
fun
MVP.
Teams to watch.
Super Bowl MVP was not.
Oh, is that what I said? I'm sorry. Yeah. League MVP, correct. I'm picking the Chiefs in this one. I think, obviously, like you said last year, the Chiefs did lose in that opener, and that was very surprising. But if you remember back to last season, in Week 1, they were without Travis Kelce, and that was a big part of that game. Travis Kelce is obviously there this time. Rashee Rice, I'm expecting him to take a good second-year leap. They bring in Xavier Worthy. Last year, the story of their game Week 1 was drops. They had so many drops. They don't have Kadarius Toney anymore. Sky Moore should not be seeing the field much with a new revamped receiving core. I'm not betting against the Chiefs to lose a second. I'm not betting at all, don't worry. To lose a second opening season game like 2 years in a row. Last year, that was a very surprising game. Like we said, it was a very good game, but I don't think the Chiefs are gonna let themselves lose. I don't think Mahomes, I don't think Andy Reid, and with a healthy Travis Kelce, unlike last year, I don't think they'll let that happen. And the Ravens have always had this little bit of a monkey on their back, not being able to get past the Chiefs. And I think that they're obviously a great team. They're going to be one of the teams. They're going to be probably one of the final 4 to 8 teams left in the run for the Super Bowl. However, the Chiefs are just a team they always can't manage to get past in Week 1. That's a really tough draw for them, but it's a great game. Great game. Great job, NFL, for scheduling it. But I'm picking the Chiefs.
Yeah, not one. Again, this game could go either way. And obviously, it being Week 1, we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't have the hindsight of the last week or really the injuries or the schemes yet. So it's tough to really lock that in. And before we move on here, I know it's early, and I'm really sorry to everyone who thought that they were going to escape it. But it is inescapable. It is the reality we live in. It's the world we live in. I don't know if you saw, Kadin, but Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. I didn't know about this. My girlfriend brought it up to me because I don't follow any Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff. I'm only here for the football. But apparently, there was some contract that was leaked.
I did hear about this.
Yeah, it was so stupid. For all of 12 hours today, they were like, "Oh, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's relationship is fake. It's been a PR stunt the whole time, and now they're gonna do this breakup thing they're going to announce it on September 28th. And like people went crazy for like 6 hours. And now Travis Kelce's like, yeah, nope, that's completely fake. And now he's like suing whoever released that. So, we're bringing you guys the NFL news. And, I wouldn't have been so mad if they broke up on September 28th. I get to see her less on the screens. But yeah, there it is. Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah.
Can't see what you're
Kelsey's
highlighting
PR
there.
representatives
It
have
says
denied.
the representatives, his PR representatives. So there's always
Yeah,
a
and then
chance.
he got his legal team involved, is what I had read. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's dumb, it's stupid. Taylor Swift appeared more on the NFL hype video than offensive linemen and everyone else.
She appeared more than Justin Jefferson and Myles Garrett and all these elite superstars, and she appeared 5 times, not just once. It was ridiculous. Yeah. It's football,
All right.
But
anyway, we're done with this. I got Ravens. Kadin got Chiefs. Who we got next, Kadin?
Next game is a Friday game. We're not going from Thursday to Monday this week. How amazing is this? The NFL is trying to take over the world, and I'm all for it. So we got the Eagles and we got the Packers. It is a Brazil game. Now, this is a very interesting game because the NFL has put so many measures into this game because this is dangerous. They are playing at a part in Brazil that is one of the most dangerous, like, gang, crime, total violence-ridden part of the world. And the NFL has... Originally, the NFL said you're not allowed to wear green outside of the stadium, outside the city, anything like that because of gangs and something with the color green. First of all, great job by the NFL scheduling the Packers and the Eagles, 2 of the greenest teams in the NFL. But they've changed their stance on that, and now they said you are just not allowed to leave the team hotel. The team hotel is in the airport, so they're going to fly to Brazil, a 9-hour flight to Brazil, and then just stay straight in the airport hotel, and then go, from what I hear, I don't know if this is true, but they're going straight from there to the stadium in like an armored truck. Like, they are not allowed to be in anything not insanely, like, military protected. And then they play the game, they take this armored truck back to the hotel, and then they fly home. So if I was a Packers or an Eagles player, I'd be a little bit concerned too. I know Darius Slay has came out and said he's not letting his family come to the game. Like, this is a very interesting situation. Like, I know the NFL wants to expand to other countries, but me personally, I don't think this is the way to do it, going to somewhere like this that's going to potentially harm two superstar teams and a lot of fans, and definitely interesting.
Yeah, I don't really know why they picked Sao Paulo to play this game. Like, there are other cities in Brazil that aren't so bad. And this is not correct, by the way, just so everyone knows. The allegations that green is associated with gangs in the area is not right. My roommate's family have been missionaries in Sao Paulo, Brazil for the last 40, 50 years. This is not accurate information. What it is the local sports team, the local soccer team, their rival wears green. And so when they play, anyone wearing green gets assaulted in Sao Paulo because they're wearing the opposing team's colors. It has nothing to do with gangs. It has everything to do with sports teams. So it will not have any impact wearing green in Sao Paulo. Everyone will be fine.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear you say that. We got insight from Austin and his roommate. Thank you for clearing that up. But yeah, so what do you got for the game itself, not just the violence?
Oh, man. For the game itself, I think that this is, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if this is that hot of a take either. I think that technically they're a little bit considered the underdogs. I'm going to go with the Packers. I think that a lot of people are going to predict that the Eagles are going to win this one, and that's a fine take to have. I think that the Eagles aren't going to perform as well as they have in the last 2 years. They're not going to perform badly. I think they're definitely going to have a real good shot at a playoff run. Just for this week 1 matchup, I'm going to take the Packers here. Again, tough to pick with not really knowing what's going to happen. How's Saquon Barkley going to do? I think that's going to be the real key piece to this game, but I'm going to take the Packers here.
I'm very surprised because I honestly thought there was a very likely chance we go 2 for 2 in agreeing, but we're going to go over 2. I'm picking the Eagles in this one. they're obviously the team I picked to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm very high on them. It does hurt them a little bit that they don't get a true home game in Philly. They were stripped of their home game, and they're obviously playing in Brazil. But I think that the addition of Saquon Barkley is just such an underrated signing. Like, people aren't talking about it enough, and they don't have film on Saquon in the Eagles system yet. I think that teams are going to be shocked out the gun when he just has a new offensive line, and he looks like he did when he was in Penn State. There was a reason he was the second pick in the draft. I know he's not 22 years old anymore, but he is still Saquon Barkley. And with their new system, they have a brand new offensive system. Like, teams are going to be surprised from the start. I think that the Eagles take a step this year, like we talked about earlier this offseason. I'm picking the Eagles in this one. I still think the Packers are going to be a great team. I mean, we both predicted them to the playoffs, but projecting Jalen Hurts like he's actually good. King 3 Jace. Thank you for the comment, by the way. But I do think Jalen Hurts is going to be good. I talked about it in our awards thing. In our awards episode, I predicted him to win MVP this year. I think he takes a big leap with Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator. I think Saquon takes a lot of the load off of him, keeps the defenses more on their toes and guessing. And I think no Jason Kelsey means no tush push, and that means less wear and tear on Jalen Hurts. I think all of those things contribute to a big bounce back season for Jalen Hurts. I mean, 2 seasons ago, he was like an MVP candidate. He was fought head-to-head with Mahomes in a Super Bowl and almost won. I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. He had a bad end to last season. So,
yeah.
The next game, this is the first of the 1 o'clock games. The Steelers, the new-look Steelers with Russell Wilson, are going to the new-look Falcons. And this game is at 1 o'clock in Atlanta. Austin, what do you think here in this one?
For this one, I have little to absolutely no faith in the Steelers at this point. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Like, maybe it's one of those situations where it's like, oh, I don't believe in this team, but then they actually hit the field. We actually see the scheme. Maybe Russell Wilson isn't as trash as he used to be. Doubt it. So for this one, I'm going to go with the Falcons. It's going to be a new look for the Falcons. They're no longer going to have Arthur Smiths to start the season. So maybe they'll get a new look. Maybe they'll figure out ways to actually spread the ball around, get the ball to the players that actually matter and are able to win the game for you. Kirk Cousins, I mean, in last week's episode, we had an entire tier dedicated to Kirk Cousins, where he might not be the guy that's going to win you the game. He's not going to march down the field with the game-winning drive, but he's going to keep your team in it. He's not going to make mistakes. He's going to make the smart decisions. And when you're playing the Steelers, all you have to do is put up more than 3 points, and I think you're going to have it. The Steelers put up, 3 points in their entire preseason. So I think that I'm going to take the Falcons here, and I don't have a problem.
They did not put up 3 points in their preseason. I'm also picking the Falcons in this game. Not as much my disbelief in the Steelers. I think that they're going to be a competent, about a mediocre level team. I think they'll be average. I don't project them to have a winning record. I think for the first time in however many years it's been, they won't have a winning record this year. But I do think that they will fall in this one. I think I am pretty high on the Falcons. I think that they're going to have a great offense as long as Kirk Cousins can get back to his form that we saw in Minnesota. And their defense is going to be a lot better than people are expecting too. Matthew Judon and Jeffrey Simmons just came in a couple of weeks ago to an already okay defense. I mean, AJ Terrell on their defense. Their DBs are great. Their defensive line is very solid now. I mean, this team is a little bit scary in my opinion. I think the Falcons are being very slept on. So I'm taking the Falcons in this one. However, the Steelers do normally play very, very well week 1. And they're playing against a first-year head coach. There's a lot of first-year head coaches in week 1, actually. But I still think the Falcons' talent is going to be enough to push them over the top.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. Next up is the Cardinals and the Bills. So the Cardinals, I know, a team that me and you are, I think, a little bit more high on than some other people. I know a lot of people were very surprised when they heard what we both projected them as in our NFL team-by-team record predictions video. And the Bills, a team with a lot different players than they had last year. A lot of key players leaving, players like Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, a lot of their defense. I'm still going to be picking the Bills in this game. I think that the Cardinals are going to be better this year, yes. But I think the Bills, I talked about Josh Allen is just going to take another leap this year. He's just going to put his team on his back. He's not going to let his team lose games. He will run. We talked about it on the rankings episode. His fault is he tries too hard. He's going to do everything in his power to make sure that they win this game. They can run the ball with James Cook. They can run the ball with him, and he can throw the ball. He's got Keon Coleman, he's got Khalil Shakir, and he's got Curtis Samuel at receiver. Those aren't complete slouches and nobodies. The Cardinals are supposed to have one of the worst defenses we've seen in a long time this season. And I think the Bills' offense can have an absolute heyday on Sunday.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Cardinals, we think they're going to be better than some people do. The Bills have a lot of questions to answer, but at the end of the day, they are still the Bills, in my opinion. They have questions to answers like who's going to be the next guy up, who's going to fill the spots, but until they show me otherwise, which at this point they haven't because we haven't played a game yet, if you give me Bills, Cardinals, I'm going to have to take the Bills. If you gave me like another question, give me like Bills, Lions, I'm probably going to go the Lions just because I know some more of those answers, but it being the Cardinals, I'm going to go the Bills, and I feel like that's a really easy choice.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a really offensive game for sure.
For sure.
A lot of points on the board. If you're a betting man, which of course we're not, take the over in that game. Next up, we have the Titans and hey, you can bet on Sleeper. Very good fantasy app.
Honestly, we need to get Sleeper to sponsor us. Let's be so for real right now.
Yeah, we've given them a lot of endorsement this episode. So, Sleeper, if you're listening, think about sponsoring us. Next up, we're going to be talking about my team. We're talking the Panthers and Saints. A rivalry game week 1. The new look Panthers with their new wide receiver core, new coaching staff, and a lot of players on their defense leaving. The Saints, kind of the same situation of last year. They have Derek Carr at quarterback. They got Olave. They got not that much else. However, for the Saints, I think that their offense this year is not going to run through Chris Olave. I think Derek Carr is not a good enough quarterback to let Chris Olave cook and be that focal point of the offense. I truly think that the Saints' identity this year is going to be through Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. They're talking about Taysom Hill being like a full-time running back right now. And honestly, that scares me truly. Taysom Hill is a very, like, when he touches the ball, he's getting 5-10 yards a carry. He's getting touchdowns. Like, Taysom Hill is a weapon when he's getting the ball. And I think that the Saints definitely need to utilize that. He is one of the more Swiss Army knife players in the league, not just in terms of his position. Like, he can get you yards when you need him. And I think that's very dangerous for the Saints. And their defense is very scary as well. I am going to be picking the Saints in this game. I picked the Saints because, one, their defense is very, very scary. I think the Panthers' defense is good enough to keep the Saints' offense to very low points. Like, I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game by any means. Maybe, like, both teams under 20 points. However, I think the Saints with Taysom Hill, they truly do scare me enough to the point where they can get 2 touchdowns with Taysom Hill alone. And with that might be enough. 14 points could be enough in this game. I think me and you both believe the Panthers are going to have a bounce-back season this year, at least compared to what there was last year. But the Saints' defense week 1 is an extremely hard task for Bryce Young in his first week in his first week with a new offensive coordinator, new head coach, new wide receivers, new offensive line. It's a lot of new things going together against a really good defense. So with all of that going, and against a division rival at their place, I'm picking the Saints.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I'm also going to take the Saints in this one. Like you said, their defense is going to be a lot to handle. Practice is practice. Like, that's why teams have joint practices. That's why teams have the preseason, is to try to get people up to game speed. But it's nothing like playing in an actual game. And so the Saints defense is going to, I think, really dominate the Panthers offense in this game. I think this is going to be a really low scoring game. I don't, like you said, I don't see the Saints offense doing anything. I think the Saints defense is going to hold the Panthers offense to not doing too much. So really low scoring game. If I had to predict a score, I'm going to go Saints win 13-3.
Wow, that's really low. All right. Next up on the list, we have the Titans bringing in their first year as Will Levis as their full starter. Their first season in a while without Derrick Henry leading the offense. Up against the generational prospect in Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Austin, what do you think in this one?
So this one is one of those where up until this point, I've picked teams that like I know things about. I know what's going on. I've picked pretty much based on last year is kind of how I based my picks so far. This is the only one where I'm not going to do that. I am going to go the Bears for this game. I think that they, bringing in Caleb Williams, I don't really know how he's going to do in an actual full-speed NFL game, 4 quarters. How are you going to fare? I don't really know, but I think that he has enough weapons around him, and let us not forget the hype factor as well. That can add some pressure, but you do kind of have the entire NFL fan base, other than Titans fans and Packers fans, rooting for you at this point. Everyone kind of wants to see the Bears do a little bit better than they have in previous years. As you can see behind me, Browns fan, I empathize with those Bears fans that have been through this endless carousel of quarterbacks for the last couple of years. So I'm rooting for them. I don't think the Titans are going to be very good this year at all. I don't believe in Will Levis, and that entire Titans offense for the last 3-4 years has run completely through Derrick Henry. So now you have to find a completely new identity, and you have a guy who I don't really believe in at quarterback. So I'm going to go Bears, and I think the Titans are going to have a bad year this year.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with everything you said. I think that I talked about it before. I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are going to be two of them two are going to be dominant. Maybe not dominant for their rookie season, but in the long term of their careers, we're going to look back and be like, wow, those two guys at the top of the draft, those were hits. Everybody else, But them two, they are good. They are staples. They are stars in this league. And I think we're going to see that even starting week 1. I know it's very hard for a rookie quarterback to win week 1 on his debut. Like I saw the stat last season, it was a very, very low number. However, I think, first of all, like you said, very low on this Titans team. They have a new they have to find their new identity in losing Derrick Henry. And this Bears team is loaded at wide receiver. DeAndre Swift is a solid running back. And let's not forget that last season, the second half of the year, they had one of the top-rated defenses in the league. And now they're bringing in Caleb Williams, and we both believe he's going to be a very good quarterback. And I think we see this week 1, and I think that they beat the Titans. Yeah. I don't think that's crazy at all. All right, one last game before we do a little bit of a break. Texans, divisional game. Texans at Colts. One of the more exciting games of week 1. Definitely one of the most exciting Sunday games. Texans coming off of a lot of hype with C.J. Stroud and bringing in Stephon Diggs. And the Colts bring back Anthony Richardson coming off of his injury. A lot of hype around both of these teams. Austin, what do you think?
For me, like you said, I think this is going to be a very exciting game. I think that the Colts are going to be a much different team than we saw last year, especially if Anthony Richardson can actually stay healthy. Hopefully he'll learn how to slide this offseason. Anthony Richardson is a guy that I'm looking forward to seeing play this year. Didn't get to see a whole lot of him last year. He didn't seem like he could throw all that well last year, but he was electric with his legs. And so I'm excited to watch him, see what they can do over there in Indy. I know that we've talked about it, but he's a guy that I have been targeting for a backup quarterback in smaller leagues. I had a draft last night, and I wanted to get him as a backup
How many
guy.
leagues are you in? I'm just kind of curious.
At this point, I think it's 6.
That is so many
I
leagues.
think it's 6.
All right, real quick, we're gonna go a little bit off topic. Sorry, Debbie, if you're gonna make me mad. At what point do you think you get to the point where you're doing so many fantasy leagues to where you're like, crap, like I have CeeDee Lamb in this league, but I'm playing against CeeDee Lamb in this league. Oh, and I have CD in this league, but I'm also playing against him. That's got to get like I'm in 4, and I think that is so much. Like I did, I think 3 one year, and I thought that was too many, so I just cut it down. I've done 2 every year since, but this year I've jumped up to 4, and I'm super excited. But that little collision of having players is 6 is a lot.
Yeah, no, trust me. What's my limit? My limit would be 2. Like 2 leagues would be best. Like, yeah, I get what you're saying, and yeah, it's gonna be tough. I think, and I'm not even gonna lie either. Like, as much as I love playing fantasy, it's one thing to be like, oh, I'm starting this guy in this league, and I'm playing this guy in this league, and oh, how do I root for a guy? It just takes the fun out of it. I'll tell you what's worse is having players playing against the Browns. Like, I can't, like, I'm not even joking. I cannot start players that are playing against the Browns because I can't root for them. I don't know who to root for in that situation. So 6 is a lot. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I don't really know what I'm going to do this year. I think I'm going to start best available, and we're just going to let it happen. We're going to see what happens. We're going to win all 6 leagues, and it's going to be
You don't got to root for the guys. You just got to, if they happen to score, they happen to score, and then
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go.
All that is to say, I'm going to go with the Texans in this game. I think the Colts are going to be electric. I think they're going to be fun. I'm excited to see what they have cooked up. But I think the Texans are a better team. I think the Texans are going to make the playoffs this year, just like they did last year. Their defense is still really good. I think people forget how good that defense was at the end stretch there with D'Amico Ryans as the head coach, a very defensive-minded guy. And then the offense, obviously you have C.J. Stroud going into his second year, way more experience than his rookie season, and then a really fantastic wide receiving core, as well as Joe Mixon as your running back. So I think the Texans are going to win this one.
I agree with you there. I have the Texans. I think that there's 3 teams in the AFC South that can definitely contend for winning the AFC South, and that's the Texans, Colts, and Jaguars. I think that they're all 3 going to be pretty solid teams this year, and I think the Texans, just with an absolutely loaded receiver core, like I don't think people realize the new receiving cores this year that have been revamped with the Texans and the Bears. Those are 2 of maybe the best receiving cores in the league. I mean, in Chicago, you have DJ Moore, who's just an all-around playmaker. He can turn anything into a long play. Keenan Allen, which I don't think people are remembering. Keenan Allen was the best receiver in the Chargers last year, and he's been dominant for so many years. And Rome Odunze, who in a year that Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors, 2 generational wide receiver prospects, weren't in, he would be the number 1 receiver off the board. So that's a very good receiving core there. And then here in Houston, Nico Collins broke out last year. People were expecting an even better breakout year this year. Tank Dell, as a rookie last year, looked phenomenal until he got injured. And then bringing in Stephon Diggs, who's past his prime, past the point where he needs to be that number 1 alpha receiver. So now he can take a lesser role and then dominate there. I think the Texans receiving core is very scary. Bringing in Joe Mixon at running back, I think the Texans are going to be pretty good. And I'm picking the Texans in this one. And also what scares me is Anthony Richardson not sliding. I think we saw it last year in every game he played. He would miss a little bit of the game, come out with had to check him for a concussion, had to check him for a shoulder injury, had to do all this stuff. I think there's a very good chance that Anthony Richardson takes a hit because he doesn't slide, and then he just crumbles. And if you want something that's not going to crumble, you need to call our friends at K&F Construction. K&F Construction has been serving the Northeast Ohio community for over 16 years, specializing in composite decks. K&F Construction takes the time and effort to provide the service and product that you deserve for your home. You can call K&F Construction today at 330-575-2465 for a free estimate. Again, that's 330-575-2465 575-2465. You can also visit kfdex.com, which is linked in the description. K&F Construction, let us build your dream backyard. So we're going to jump into the second half of these games. There's 2 more games starting at 1. The next one will be the Dolphins traveling interstate going to Miami. Jaguars at Dolphins.
I'm trying to find that game on my list here. Completely lost him. Jaguars, Dolphins. Got him. Found him, guys. Don't worry. For this game, it's not super tough, but I'm having a tough time verbalizing why it's not tough. I'm going to go Dolphins. Obviously, Dolphins were one of the most dominant teams in the NFL last year. Having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is it's been a big storyline for the last couple of years here, but it's just going to continue. Their running backs you have 2 of the most dominant running backs, and no one really expected it, to be honest with you, up until last year. So I'm going to go Dolphins. I don't necessarily have a problem with the Jaguars. I just don't think they're going to be as good as the Dolphins. I think that Trevor Lawrence isn't quite as good as we all thought that he was supposed to be. Maybe this year he'll finally kind of figure things out, but I think we put him in the Kirk Cousins kind of category last week, where it's like he's okay. All it is to say, I'm going to go Dolphins here, and I don't. Maybe you'll pick the Jaguars, but I seriously doubt it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your doubts are correct because I'm picking the Dolphins as well. The Dolphins every year with Mike McDaniel have came out week 1 and have just exploded. They've shown things that we'd be like, wow. Like, I think teams forget how fast they are. Like, teams are like, yeah, we know they got Tyreek Hill, they got Jalen Waddle, they got Devon Achane. Like, they're quick. We'll be fine. And then they just come out the gate and they're like, pew! And they're just gone. They put up 45 points on you. And I do think it kind of is unfortunate for the Dolphins that they're not playing a team like Buffalo or a team like Arizona. Arizona is a bad example, but they're playing another Florida team. I think a big advantage for them early in the season is teams having to travel to Miami and play in that Florida heat. Obviously, Jacksonville already from Florida, so they don't get that same Miami advantage as the Dolphins normally get, but I still think that they are a better team right now than Jacksonville. They have less questions on their roster. I'm more confident in them, especially in a Mike McDaniel week 1 game. And then the last game of the 1:00 slate. Maybe the most...
2 more in the 1:00 slate.
Do we?
Yeah.
Okay. I must have missed one. Maybe, in my opinion, the most boring game of week 1. But, again, this is just being skeptical. The Vikings at the Giants, team that just lost their rookie quarterback for the season in the preseason, and a team that I am not very high on, as stated in our team predictions video.
Yeah.
So, who do you got?
Vikings. No more to say about that. Vikings defense is the only thing that... it doesn't scare me for this game. It scares me for the entire season. The Vikings defense is not all that fantastic, and it hasn't been. The Vikings offense, I think, will be fine. I think that their biggest want at this point is the quarterback position, but in all honesty, it's probably the best thing in the world that J.J. McCarthy got hurt. Not for him, obviously. I never wish that someone would get hurt. But it makes it so you don't have to start him. You don't have to feel like you spent a first-round pick on him, so you have to start him. I don't think he would have been the best fit for that team, especially this year. So I'm going to go Vikings. I don't think the Giants are going to win, and I think that it will be an absolute miracle the day that I actually pick the Giants to win. It's going to have to be like the entire other team slept in, and we all know it in advance somehow.
Yeah, I'm not going to be picking the Giants. Spoiler alert, probably all season until they prove me wrong. So I'm going to go Vikings here. I'm pretty confident in that game. Which is saying something because I'm not high on this Vikings team now that Sam Darnold's their starter all year. And I know you aren't either, but that tells you how I feel about the Giants because I'm not high on the Vikings, but I'm very confident that they'll win this game. I don't care that it's in MetLife. I don't care that they have a backup quarterback. I don't care about any of that. I think that the Vikings have Justin Jefferson and they don't have Daniel Jones, and that's enough to win this game.
Real that, man.
So I'd like to know what game you are talking about.
Patriots.
Oh
Bengals.
my goodness, I did. I just completely skipped over it.
Yeah.
You were so
I
right.
figured.
I skipped right over that one. It's way up on my list. Patriots at Bengals. There's a lot of news surrounding this game, obviously. So we're going to get some more news as we go on. There's a lot of holdouts that go on every single offseason, but a lot of them have managed to get resolved right before the season starts. Obviously, it just works out that way because if you're an owner, I know you said this, I think last week, if you're an owner, you know you're going to pay the guy. Why don't you just give them the money? I mean, you both feel that way. We think it's pretty dumb that teams wait and try to negotiate all this. You know you're going to give the guy what he wants, so just give him the money. Let him be there for practice, all this stuff. They play in, well, we're going to nix today because it's already like 10 o'clock. We're going to say they play in,
4 days.
I can't do the math. 3 days. Because Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You're right, 4 days. They play in 4 days from now. Jamar Chase is still, at this moment in time, he has yet to get a contract. He showed up at practice today. I don't know if he participated, but he showed up at practice today. But this is a really big story because, one, Jamar Chase has shown before that he's not afraid to sit out extended periods of time. He sat out the 2020 college football season. They had the option to sit out because of COVID. He decided, I'm going to sit out. He was already going to be a top 10, top 5 pick. He could have played and became a top 3 pick. He just says, no, I'm not playing. I'm sitting out. He sits out the whole season, ends up going at number 5 to the Bengals, and obviously the rest has been history. I think that this just shows he's not afraid to sit out. They're playing the Patriots week 1. They don't need him. He could be like, yeah, like, okay, I'm not playing. And they'll be like, okay, we don't need you. Week 2, looking ahead, the Bengals play the Chiefs. They're going to need him for that game.
Yeah,
I think that Jamar Chase can most definitely use this as leverage. Be like, all right, you don't need me week 1, fine. I'm going to sit out, and you're going to sign me before week 2. I think that, like, you guys obviously know you need me. You can't go into this game with just T. Higgins as your wide receivers. Like, you need to have me. And I think it's important to have him sooner rather than later because they lost their offensive coordinator last year. He became a head coach, I believe, for the Titans, if not the Titans and the Seahawks, one of the two. I know he was the Titans. And so it's a brand new system there. I think he needs to get in and he needs to learn the playbook. I think it's a really big deal that he is still sitting out at this time. I don't think that he's going to play on Sunday, but even if he does, I don't think it's going to be a normal Jamar Chase workload due to him not knowing the system, him not knowing all of the stuff yet because he's not there. I think he'll play week 2, but this week is definitely a question. But with all that being said, I still am picking the Bengals by a landslide. I don't care.
Yep, same. Like, you could tell me that Jamar Chase, and honestly, you could tell me that T. Higgins isn't even playing in this game, and I'd probably still pick the Bengals. Doesn't matter to me. But yeah, I think that they need to resolve that. I really don't understand why you don't just sign the guy. Like, I get it. You just signed Joe Burrow to a monster contract, but it's not like you don't have the money. Like, you're gonna tell me that you're gonna let Jamar Chase walk? No, you're not. Don't lie. No one believes you. Jamar Chase doesn't believe you. That's why he's willing to hold out on the negotiations because you're not going to let him walk. And if he does, he's going to get even more money somewhere else because everyone's going to want him if you release him. So he's going to get a contract. Just sign the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Me and you both feel very strongly about holdouts in terms of just pay the dude.
Mm-hmm.
So the first of the 4 o'clock games now, we got the Raiders at the Chargers. You know, Jim Harbaugh's debut and Gardner Minshew's debut for the Raiders. So,
yeah,
who do you got here? I know you're not high on both of these teams.
No, I'm really low on both of these teams. I think in our predictions, I had them finishing both at the bottom of their division by quite a lot. Not high on either of the teams, but I am less high on the Chargers than I am the Raiders at this point. I honestly, don't know who Justin Herbert is supposed to throw the ball to. He has that leg issue right now. He's probably not going to do too much running, so he's going to have to get the ball out within the first 3 seconds that it gets snapped. Who's he really supposed to throw the ball to? I'm not sure. It is a Harbaugh system, so maybe their plan is to hand the ball off 8,000 times during this game. But that's not going to win you.
And look at the other team's signs. Maybe
That too. Maybe he's been sending people to look at the Raiders signs for the last couple weeks here. But in the year 2024, you're not going to win a game by handing the ball off 50,000 times unless you have a backfield consisting of Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry. But they don't have that, so I'm going to go the Raiders here. Not high on either team, but I think that the Raiders stand a much better chance than the Chargers here.
I'm actually going to go the Chargers. I know, shocker. I've never been high on the Chargers, but I'm not that high on them at this season compared to other seasons due to the fact of their lack of receivers, like you talked about, and also Harbaugh being there and wanting to run the ball. At their running backs are Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. However, against this Raiders team, I really think that it can happen. I think that this Raiders team is – I don't think that people are talking about them at all, but I think that that's for a reason. I don't think that they're a good team. I think that they're still overrated compared to what little talk people are saying about them. Gardner Minshew was solid last year, but that was in a very good Shane Steichen Colts system. I don't think that works here at the Raiders. I think the Chargers win this one just by running the ball and throwing with Herbert when they have to. He's got some NFL players to throw the ball to. He's got Ladd McConkey. He's got
some guys rejected by Walmart.
Joshua Palmer. Yeah, I mean, they've been approved at least by Walmart. They're not all the way down that far, but it's gonna be an interesting game. I think we're gonna see I think that's gonna be a very fast timed game. Like some games, like if you're watching NFL Red Zone, like say it's like the 1 o'clock slate, one game will be entering the fourth quarter, and there's another game that has like a minute left in the fourth, and you're like, how did this happen? I truly think that that's going to happen in this game. I think the Chargers are just going to run. And the Raiders are just going to, I don't even know. Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. And if/when I get the game wrong, I'll be like, maybe probably.
Now I'm only down by Kadin by 3 points.
Yeah, sure.
All
right, what's the next game we got?
Next game is Broncos at Seahawks. The Russell Wilson revenge game, even though Russell Wilson is gone. This was the game of a couple of years ago when they played week 1, and now they're playing week 1 again. But it's going to be Bo Nix's NFL debut versus Geno Smith. What do you got?
I got the Seahawks here. Maybe Sean Payton proves that Russell Wilson was the issue, and he gets to start fresh with his next Drew Brees project, and it'll all work out in the end, and he'll be fine. His legacy will be salvaged. But at this point, just given what I have seen over the last couple of years, even though the Seahawks had a big regression last year from the year before, I'm going to go the Seahawks here just because the Broncos haven't really proven to me and haven't really done anything over the offseason that would lead me to believe that they're going to be anything to sneeze at. So I'm going to go Seahawks here.
I'm also going Seahawks. This isn't much of belief on the Seahawks. It's more disbelief on the Broncos. I'm not high on the Seahawks at all, but I'm very low on the Broncos, especially like we talked about. Well, we'll get there. But hard for a rookie QB to win a week 1 game. I know we both picked Caleb to win. However, Bo Nix is not Caleb Williams. The Broncos wide receiver core is not the Bears receiving core. They're not playing the Titans. Like the Seahawks are better than the Titans. They're at Seattle. Very hard place to play. I think that the Seahawks will win this one pretty easily, pretty confidently.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we got Tom Brady's broadcasting debut. The Cowboys going to Cleveland to play Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. Tom Brady is going to be in the booth for this one. He unfairly just booted Greg Olsen out of the booth. I might have a little bit of bias on that one, but I truly believe he was one of the better commentators. I think he was a very good commentator. I think he was Fox's best commentator, and they just were like, "Oh wait, Tom Brady? You've never broadcasted a game before, but you're Tom Brady? Oh, here's $350 million. Greg Olsen, I know you just called the Super Bowl and have been a great commentator and just won like an award for being a great commentator, but here, you leave, you shoo. Tom Brady, come in the booth." I think he'll be good. I think he'll have some good insight that we don't normally see, kind of like Tony Romo. However, I don't know. I think it's a little bit. I think Greg Olsen was great at what he was doing. So,
yeah.
What do you got in this one?
Anyway, for this game, I really waffled back and forth on this one.
Waffled.
Yeah. I really didn't know who to go with here. My initial gut instinct said Cowboys. And I was like, okay, gut instinct says Cowboys. We're going to roll with the Cowboys here. And then I was like, I thought about it a little bit more, and I was like, but will it be? And I was like, no, Austin, trust your gut here. Trust your gut. Go with the Cowboys. Just pick up the Cowboys.
Waffle.
Yeah, waffle.
What? Waffle's a food. Thing. Waffle is something you eat. Waffle is something that you have to eat a lot of when you lose the pick'ems to me 2 years ago.
Oh, funny.
No, legit. I've never heard of waffle in terms of that sense.
Yeah, well, you learn something new every day. That's why we have those little inspirational things in front before the podcast, because K&A football, you learn something. Anyway, after waffling back and forth, didn't quite know which syrup to put on. Do I go butter, no butter? I don't really know. Do I get the patties or links of my sausage? I don't know. What do I put with my waffles? I landed with the Browns. I'm sure that there's at least a slight element of the things behind me, but
I wonder if there is.
The Browns do have the best defense in the NFL. I will stand by that, and I don't think anyone is willing to, at this point, question me on that. The Browns have the best defense in the NFL. The real question is Deshaun Watson going to be absolute cheeks, or is he going to be able to throw the ball? And that's the real question, and that's the only thing that keeps me up at night. But I don't know why, and I'm hoping that you can explain. I'm picking the Browns. I don't care what you say next. I'm going with the Browns here. I don't understand why. I'm hoping you can help me out a little bit here. Why is CeeDee Lamb not playing?
He is. He's playing.
Is he? I've seen that he is not playing.
CeeDee Lamb is most definitely playing in this game. Now, if CeeDee Lamb wasn't playing, I would 1,000% pick the Browns. That would be very scary for the Cowboys. But I'm picking the Cowboys in this game. I think that, like you talked about, the Browns have a very amazing defense. There's no arguing with that. Here we go. Coach McCarthy said Wednesday that Lamb, who remains on the reserve commissioners, is building up to Sunday. Yeah, he was on that list because he was holding out. And then he came back, and there's just building him up to speed for Sunday. There's not a doubt that he's playing. I promise.
I don't know, man.
I promise. I will shake your hand right now. I'll bet you an app sample. You want to bet an app sample right now that he plays?
Okay.
For real?
Hey, we don't bet on this show.
Crap.
We don't bet on this show.
Do you wanna, if he plays, do you want to gift me an app sampler? And if he doesn't, I will gift you an app sampler.
All right, fine.
All right, for real? I just got a free one.
You heard it here first, folks. Also, just so the record shows, and I know that we're quickly winding down on time. On the topic of app sampler, Harold Mansfield, you still owe me an app sampler from when the United States lost against Uruguay. All right, continue.
Okay. I'm picking the Cowboys in this game. There's no denying the Browns have a dominant defense. But like you said, the question is going to be their offense and Deshaun Watson. He hasn't played that much this training camp, he's been a lot of like, I have, what do you say, general arm soreness. I can't play in the preseason. All this stuff. That's kind of sad, first of all, in my opinion. I mean, we talked about last week. Harold, one of the biggest Browns fans I know, like he refuses in our fantasy league to draft any Ravens guys. He does all this stuff. He's not even high on Deshaun. The Cowboys defense is not going to be as good as it was last year. There's no question about that. They've lost a lot of pieces, but I think they still are an above average defense. They're still a pretty top tier, top 5, definitely top 10 defense in the NFL. And I think that's a really hard defense for a team, for a quarterback like Deshaun Watson to go against. They're still missing Nick Chubb. I know they missed him all last season, but they also have a lot of questions on their offensive line. They have a lot of offensive line injuries right now. So with all of that going, obviously without CeeDee Lamb, yes, Browns win this game. But fortunately, CeeDee Lamb is playing, and I just want a free app sampler off of that. The Cowboys will win this game. I can't believe you actually think he's not playing. All right.
The only reason I think he's not playing is because all the fantasy apps have him listed as out.
Weird. Not Sleeper, though. Sleeper should sponsor us. All right. Commanders at Buccaneers. You know, the debut of Jaden Daniels, my favorite NFL prospect this year, versus Buccaneers, who very much surprised last season. This game's at 4:25 at Tampa Bay. Austin, what do you think?
I'm not high on the Commanders, as anyone who watches the show knows. You are very high on Jaden Daniels. You're a little bit higher on the team than I am. At this point, again, basing things off of last year, I think that Baker Mayfield is going to continue his streak of doing a lot better than he did. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in this one. Not because I necessarily am extremely high on the Buccaneers as a team, just because I'm a little bit lower on the Commanders, and I don't really know what to think because we haven't really seen them play yet. So this one is a tough one for me to pick, but I'm just going to go with my gut here, go with the Buccaneers. I don't really have too much of a reason for it.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you here. This is probably my biggest shot in the dark this week, but it should come as no surprise to you if you've been listening to the show. I'm extremely high on Jaden Daniels. I've drafted him in 3 of my fantasy leagues. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs, but I think that they're going to be good and surprise a lot of people. I think the Commanders win this game. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to be as good as they were last year. I think they're going to see kind of similar to what we saw from the Giants a couple of years back when they made the playoffs, and then the next year they were abysmal once again. I think that that's kind of what we're going to see with this Buccaneers team, and I think the Commanders are going to surprise people. I know we just talked about this whole episode. It's hard for a Week 1 rookie starting quarterback to win in their first Week 1 game. Yes, I know, but I think Jaden Daniels is so different, and he is a elite talent and an elite quarterback, and they have built a respectable team around him. And he's not a first-year head coach. Dan Quinn has coached a lot of games in Atlanta. He took them to a Super Bowl. They lost, choked 28-3, unfortunately, but they went to the Super Bowl. He's an experienced head coach. I think the Commanders have enough to win this game against what I believe is an overrated Buccaneers team.
All right. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. And then we got the Sunday night football game, the second to last game of the week, Rams at Lions. Should be a very fun, high-scoring game. What do you think?
I agree. I think it will be fun. I think it will, like you said, be high-scoring. At the end of the day, though, I am going to go with the Lions. They exceeded expectations last year. They beat the Chiefs Week 1 of last year. I think mainly that had to do with they knew that they were a good team going into it, and no one else believed in them. They came into that game with a chip on their shoulder. Now they're coming into this game with expectations, and so the real question is, how do the Lions handle expectations? Are they going to continue their streak of playing well, playing that Lions football where it's down in the dirt, it's won in the trenches, we're going to go for it on 4th and 7 just because we feel like it? What are you going to do about it? That's the Lions that I want to see. I don't want to see the Lions that are like, okay, we have expectations. We have to play like a real NFL team. We have to play by the book. I don't want to see that. I think that's how they're going to end up losing games. I want to see them playing like they still have that chip on their shoulder. And so that's why I'm going to go with the Lions here. I want to play like that. I think the Rams are going to be fine. I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited to watch this one, but I am going to stick with the Lions.
Mm-hmm. I agree with everything you said. I'm very excited to watch this game. And I think one of the biggest parts of this game is that it's indoors. The Rams defense has a lot of question marks. So that means not a lot of pressure on Jared Goff and indoors. Those are the two situations where Jared Goff thrives. And I think Jared Goff's going to have a day playing his old team once again. And I can speak from experience. Being inside of that stadium is so loud. I went during a meaningless regular season game against at the time, the Lions are playing the 0-4 Carolina Panthers. They're playing week 1, Sunday Night Football against the Rams. That place is going to be so loud. I think the Lions feed off of that energy and they pick up the win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we go to the Monday Night Football game, the comeback. Aaron Rodgers once again playing on Monday Night Football. We all know what happened last year on Monday Night Football, so prayers that this doesn't happen for a second time in a row. The 49ers coming off of their Super Bowl loss. Super Bowl hangover is a big thing. Austin, my girlfriend would like to inform you, the biggest Nick Bosa fan in the world, by the way. Please tell Austin that Nick Bosa is the best defense in the NFL. So going back on your Browns
he alone.
take,
He alone is the best
not
defense in the NFL.
the Browns is not the defense,
Okay.
best defense. It's Nick Bosa.
You.
So
Yep.
So with that being said, I am picking the Nick Bosas to win this game. I think that their defense. I'm not very high on the Jets. I know you kind of are. I don't really know actually because you're high on Aaron Rodgers, but you're not high on the Jets. I think that they completely dominate the Jets in this game. I think that their defense just gets to Aaron Rodgers quickly. I think that they can contain Garrett Wilson. They can contain Breece Hall. And I think that their offensive playmakers, very specifically, their offensive playmakers can win them this game. I think Brock Purdy can get them the ball. He can, He can game manage very well in this game to the point where they can win this game very, very confidently, very, very easily.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to go the 49ers as well here. I like the Jets. I would love to see Aaron Rodgers play very, very well. Is what I'm rooting for. It's what I'm hoping for. I think that he will. But at the end of the day, the 49ers are probably, I'm willing to say it, I think the 49ers are the first or second best team in the NFL. The only team that I would be willing to put above the 49ers would be the Ravens. I have the Ravens as my Super Bowl pick.
Not the team that just won back-to-back Super Bowls.
No. I really don't. I don't know how the Chiefs won that last Super Bowl. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm pretty sure it was solely Taylor Swift magic that won them that Super Bowl. PR stunts. Money. The NFL's rigged. It's not. Don't listen to that, guys. Anyway, I think the 49ers are the first or second best team in the NFL. And on any other given week, probably going to pick the Jets. I really like them until they prove me otherwise. I'm going to pick them. But you can't pick against the 49ers. So I'm going to go 49ers.
I agree. So if I remember correctly, we disagreed on Ravens, Chiefs, Packers, Eagles, Chargers, Raiders, Cowboys, Browns, Buccaneers, Commanders. And that's it. So we disagree on 5. That's a lot of disagreements for a week 1 game. So honestly,
for week 1. Yeah. I mean, it'll be fun. We'll see how it all plays out. I'm super excited. It's week 1, man. Like,
it's the best weekend.
Even if, if you say so. Even if I get all 5 of those games wrong, which I won't, I'm going to get them all right. That's just how it is. Turning over a new leaf this season. I'm going to win the pick'ems this time. I've lost the last 2 years. But I got this. Don't worry, guys. I'm still not going to do my homework. Just kidding. I always do my homework. I just pick bad. I'm going to win the whole thing. But it doesn't matter in the end because the NFL is back. We've gone 250, 260 something days without the NFL. I'm hyped, man.
I'm very excited. And literally less than 24 hours from now, I'm going to be in front of my TV watching the game. I'm assuming you're going to be in front of your TV watching the game.
Yep.
And yeah, unfortunately, we do not have a segment for you guys this week as we really had a lot to cover this week in terms of a lot of analysis, a lot of speculation going into the week 1 games. Next week, we will have a segment again. Next week's going to be what you're going to see all season. You're going to see a week 1 recap. You're going to see a speed run of all of the pick'ems. You're going to see it will literally be like a Panthers versus Chargers. Austin, who you got? Panthers. They're amazing. All right, next game. This team, so, and then we'll do that, and then we'll finish it off with a segment. So that will be starting next week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we are very excited for this weekend, as I'm hoping and assuming all of you guys are too. And yeah, hope you guys have a great week 1 weekend, and I hope all of your teams win, unless you're a Saints fan. Toodles.